Former President Donald Trump pleading not guilty in federal court today to dozens of counts related to his possession of classified documents. The charges include counts of conspiracy to obstruct justice, concealing documents from investigators, and making false statements.
Now, the former president says he's done nothing wrong, and tonight he is getting backup from a U.S. senator from here in Oklahoma.
KOCO's Evan Onstadt joining us in studio. Now, Evan, I know you spoke to Senator Markwayne Mullin late this afternoon.
Yeah, and Senator Mullin, he is a strong ally of former President Trump. He considers him a personal friend, and he's already endorsed Trump in his bid to return to the White House. And he pushed back today against the indictment's claims that the former president intentionally broke some very serious national security laws. Now, Mullin says this is a pattern. He says if it's the first time the Justice Department has investigated the former president, that would be one thing. But he says all of these Trump investigations, to him, prove that the DOJ is being politically weaponized against a presidential candidate.
I'm more concerned not about the outcome of the election, but I'm more concerned about the belief in the trust in our justice system and the FBI. They were never designed to be political arms.
Prosecutors say that, according to the indictment, that he intentionally removed these documents, that he knowingly conspired to keep them. Should intent matter in cases like this?
Well, the first thing that I would say is intent is that means he moved them by himself? No. When he removed those to Mar-a-Lago, he made documents and had the correct individuals that was moving him out of the White House, and the archives knew exactly what he was taking and where they were moving it to. He did not move those himself. He didn't load them into his back of his pickup and drive them down there.
Now, some of the senator's Republican colleagues are not being as vocal in their opposition to these charges. Senate Leader Mitch McConnell, for example, says he does not want to talk about any of the candidates in the GOP primary. Senator Mullin told me that he did not want to guess as to why some Republicans are speaking up on this more than others. But he says for him, he wants to make it clear that he thinks the former president, his friend, did nothing